Welcome to Sitting Courtside. Today's episode is brought to you in part by none other than us right here, the two wonderful gentlemen in front of you sitting courtside. You can get any gear you would like. We're talking sweatshirts, we're talking t-shirts, we're talking tumblers, anything you want at all. You can head over to Happy Hippo Home Decor. I'm telling you what, that is the biggest tongue twister on earth. I need to request your sister figure out a new name. Like do like Triple H something.
Yeah.
Head over to the website. I will attempt in my finest to drop this down. I will remind you, we are recording this very late on a Thursday. We're trying to get out to you guys on a Friday. Either way, Happy Hippo Home Decor. You can get all the gear there. Support the wonderful people that support us because they are wonderful people. And without further ado, let's go. All right, another episode of Sitting Courtside. We are officially in week 2 of college basketball. I'm going to say this now. We are on the precipice of like the official start of college basketball, which is feast week, right? But there are still a lot of really good games that have played out, a lot of really big matchups, not to mention names, Duke, Kyle.
Yes.
But you know, we're going to recap it for you guys. We're going to give you some hot picks of the weekend. We're going to try to recap a couple of games going into next week, into feast week. I will tell you guys now, we will not have an episode next week, unfortunately. Life happens. Get over it. If you guys like us so much, just drop right now the like, hit the bell, subscribe, and maybe we'll decide to maybe do a couple more podcasts, a couple special episodes, a couple little shorts on the ticky tack. But yeah, we got a huge episode today. It's gonna be a little bit of a longer episode, so just tune in right now. Buckle your seatbelts. Get ready for the long drive. Here we go. Kyle, take it away, buddy.
And as Jordan mentioned, we won't be able to record a podcast, but that's okay next week because you can just check out our Twitter. We post all of our picks, even more than what we can give you on the podcast. So just make sure you follow us on Twitter and you get all the picks there. But yes, we're going to take a look at what is the last week in college basketball. Then we're going to give you some weekend bets. And then, as Jordan mentioned, Feast Week is coming up. That means we have tournaments on top of tournaments. So we're going to look at the 4 biggest tournaments, give you our winners, give a little analysis. Let's just dive right on in. So last time we recorded, it was right before the very big Friday that was, where we had ranked teams playing ranked teams. Most notably, I would say Duke played Arizona. As you probably already know, if you're listening to this, you watched that game. Arizona did beat Duke 78-73. And I'll just give you one of my takeaways right off the top. I was super upset with Jon Scheyer at the end of that game. He did not adjust, and he clearly did not trust any of his 5-star freshmen. So I had like a whole spiel to go on this podcast. But then I saw the game against Michigan State on Tuesday, in which he relied on the freshmen a ton. He played them a bunch. So I like that he adjusted from one game to another. Wish he could adjust in game when they played against Arizona, because I think they could have won that game if he would have. So the freshmen did get in a lot more against Michigan State. That makes me happy. That's my takeaway, is that my frustration on Friday was resolved on Tuesday. Ryan Young is getting way too many minutes for Duke. But I'm happy that he did adjust, Jon Scheyer. That's my biggest takeaway. I have a few others, but what's one of your biggest takeaways from the last week?
So on the Duke thing, I just need to cover a couple of things. You're correct on your take there. They have played 2 big games since we last recorded, Arizona, Michigan State. My biggest takeaway, honestly, from Duke, and I'm going to focus on Duke mainly because that is both of our national title selections.
Yep.
Their problem is the same problem they have had for 2 years now. I don't like the guard play.
No.
I don't like the guard play. More so, I don't like what I've seen from the stripe. This is where I'm going to be the old curmudgeon guy I've referenced to you back in episode 2. Hit your free throws.
Yeah.
They're free. They're free. More so for me, I lost my over on them a little bit, butthurt from it. 3 points. I need 3 points. They went 3 for 9, I think it was, down the stretch on free throws in the last 2.5 minutes. Hit your free throws. How hard is that? You win that game by 15 if you hit your free throws. I know it didn't matter against Michigan State, who, quite frankly, that's another story. We need to be very concerned about them because Izzo has lost his touch with the kids. That was very apparent if you've seen any clip of him having a full-on shouting match with one of his star players. But what are you doing? If you're playing a very good team, you have to hit your free throws down the stretch. You have to have guard play that you can trust. And for me right now, Jon Scheyer does not have that. I can respect him as a coach. It's hard to say that I actually do kind of like him after watching Duke for the last 20 years and hating everything they do.
Yeah.
But he's trying right now, but I'm scared right now for my national title pick. I'm just going to sum it up like that. I don't like them right now. They have bad card play. They don't hit their free throws. You need those two things on the stretch. I hope to God he spent the last hour of the first practice they had after the game doing nothing but free throws. Nothing but free throws. On a different note, take from the weekend, just overall, if I hear one more announcer tell me this guy is a great shooter, he better be better than 95% from the free throw line. Otherwise, he's just a good shooter.
Yeah.
Great shooters hit their free throws, aka insert JJ Redick.
Yeah.
Great shooter, all-time shooter. Like, what is he, 98.7% from the free throw stripe in 4 years? Don't tell me he's a great shooter if he shoots 83% from the free throw line. I'm tired of hearing about it.
Yeah.
And that is my take from the weekend. Too many guys are great shooters that are just good shooters. It's embarrassing to guys like me and you that are great shooters.
Let's just stay on the shooting thing here because you did mention Michigan State and Jay Billis, who I don't even care for as an announcer in any way, shape, or form, even though he went to Duke. He started the game off with saying Michigan State is a great shooting team. Well, what did they prove in the first two games before the Duke game? They were 2 of 31 from three. So right then and there, you can already say they are not a great shooting team. You can't be shooting 6% from three on the season and be a great shooting team. They sucked again at threes. They are just not a good shooting team. They are now 8 of 51 on the season from three, and their guards just can't score besides Walker. It's just him. You combine that with struggling from the free throw line, like you said, like they couldn't even get to the free throw line against Duke. I have a very hard time seeing Michigan State winning the Big Ten or even competing with Purdue to win the Big Ten. But from what I've seen so far, it's Purdue head and shoulders above the rest of the Big Ten. Then Illinois, even though they lost to Creighton, it was a tough game. And then Michigan State. So I don't see Michigan State competing for the title, let alone like getting close to Purdue. So I think they're now firmly third in a pretty weak Big Ten.
Honestly, I think if we're recording this right now, Indiana's playing Wright State, which people are going to take too much into account what they're going to see here, thinking Wright State's not good. Wright State is a very good team. I think Culver, is their star player. He averages 26 points a game. Good team. It's a good team. I think Indiana right now could bully ball Michigan State.
Yeah.
Like they're going to be a bad matchup because Michigan State is trying to play a game that they're not good at. And that's up and down, score a bunch of points, and they don't need to do that. They need to play old school Michigan State basketball. Defense, defense, defense. If anyone scores more than 70 points, like that should be the winner. It's bad right now in East Lansing. It's bad. And that's kind of my take on it. I don't know if you want to transition to the other big game from the weekend or from the week, I guess, which was Kansas, Kentucky. I have a pretty hot take on this one right now.
Yep, go ahead.
Kentucky, they're pretty good.
Yeah.
They're a pretty good team. Holy crap. They put on a clinic there in the first half shooting. I can't fault them for kind of teetering out towards the end. Kansas is just a more tenured impact team. But I honestly think right now, if you told me, okay, let's play this game again in 3 months, I might take Kentucky.
Yep. You're like still like all of my like things.
I'm sorry. We're on the same page, Cal. I'm sorry. We're on the same page. We're great minds. I can't help it.
Yeah. So say you watch this game on mute, you probably wouldn't have heard what the announcers kept referring to about 30 times. But Kentucky, obviously very young. They have 2 seniors and 3 freshmen starting. But what you also would have seen is that Dickinson was being guarded by a 6'9" guy the entire game. And that is because Kentucky has 3 7-footers on their roster that are all hurt and will be back by early to mid-January. So if we think this Kentucky team is good, which they shocked me with how good they played against Kansas, just wait till they actually have their big men, because Calipari always has the rim protectors, and they did it against easily, I would say, the most talented team in the nation, Dickinson. My goodness. I think we underestimated just how good he was on a bad Michigan team, because now he's with stars, and he's going to make like 2020 games look just easy for him. I think he and Edey, different note, are definitely the top 2 for the player of the year. But yeah, Kentucky, that was my takeaway of the game. They're actually going to be pretty damn good this year.
Yes. Also, I found my new favorite bet for the year. Dickinson over on rebounds.
Yep.
I took his over on rebounds against Kentucky because I knew about the 7-footers and that they only had a 6'9" guy. His line was at 8. He had 10 rebounds in the first half. Easiest bet of your life.
Yep.
And fun fact, the rest of the Big 12 is not tall.
No.
Like, I'm going to say this now. I think he's going to get like the Baycott treatment the rest of the year from the books. So if you remember last year, you couldn't get a line under like 12.5 rebounds for Baycott.
Yep.
So I think he's going to eventually get that. So jump on him now on the rebounds, because you are going to just eat the cash. It's just free flowing. And then on the Baycott thing, no game specific. They just keep talking about him every time there's a big game. I think I hate him now.
I know. Yeah.
I'm so tired of talking about him. Like, go away.
Yeah, I completely agree. No bias there at all.
No bias, but seriously, like I'm so tired of hearing about Baycott. Like, just please get him out of the news.
Yeah. Probably the biggest upset over the weekend was St. Mary's losing to Weber State. So I thought we should definitely talk about that one. I'm not worried about them. They went 5 of 27 from three, 18%. If you know anything about St. Mary's, they're going to hit their threes. That's just what their teams always do. So I'm not worried about them. I think they're still a good shooting team, and I expect them to be a pesky like 8-9 seed in the tournament and compete with Gonzaga for the conference. But that's just probably the biggest upset since the last time recorded, so I thought we should touch on it real quick.
Yeah, so I do appreciate that. St. Mary's, as anyone knows, it's followed the show for a while. They're usually a little bit of my, I don't want to say my team, but I just like to root for them against Gonzaga. But again, if you know their style of play, they play defense. They're basically Virginia 2.0. They're always going to run into this problem where they have one bad night, they lose a bad game, but it doesn't mean anything to them. You just don't want those bad games to happen in the tournament, which traditionally they've done pretty well in the tournament. So I'm not concerned whatsoever. It was a huge win for Weber State, who, if I recall correctly, was it last year or 2 years ago, they got left out after winning like 28 games in the season.
I think it was 2 years ago. Yeah.
2 years ago, they won 28 games, didn't win their conference tournament, didn't make it in. They're a good team. They're going to be a good team. And really, I think we're not going to get, I guess, too far into it right now, but I think we might start to realize this is definitely the year of the mid-major. Because there has been a lot of low-level teams winning bye games on the road, especially early on this year. I feel like more so than ever. We talked 2 years ago about how the NIL thing was going to shift college basketball in the wrong direction potentially. I might, dare I say, feel like it's actually done the opposite, because the teams that are heavy on the NIL are getting the big time players. But again, unlike football, only 5 guys can be on the court.
Yep.
So you can have these super teams like Kansas kind of has, but at the end of the day, I think it's going to be better for college basketball because there is just so much like nuance and like any given quote unquote Sunday vibes when it comes to basketball. So I'm excited for this year. I think it's going to be huge. I'm going to transition very quickly though, unless you have another comment on the Weber State.
I'll just real quick on like the NIL and like transfers real quick, because from betting all these random games, like teams that like I bet a William and Mary pick today, and I bet what was it, Oral Roberts over a couple days ago. And it's just like I click on these teams, I go to their stats page, and they have a guy averaging 18 points. So I click on him and see where what he's done in the past, and it's always a transfer from another school that averaged 17 for that school. So it's like it has actually made these teams just much better because they're getting like lower level 18 points per game guys to go to these mid-level teams, you know.
Yeah. But also, so you mentioned that was the biggest upset. I want to say you're wrong. Penn beat Villanova.
You're right. Yep. That's a good
Penn
call.
beat Villanova. That's right. Not good. That's not good, which will lead me to my hottest take of the weekend. The Ivy League is good.
Oh, okay.
The Ivy League is actually very good. I seen someone else post this on Twitter while I thought about it a day before I seen it posted. The Ivy League, as it stands, the way they've played in the non-conference, and they're going to end up going to the conference play and doing what they do every year. After what we've seen with Princeton last year, why not put 2 teams in?
Yeah.
They've played so well. Princeton won a bye game. Brown won a bye game. Harvard won a bye game. Columbia won a bye game. Like, they're a good league. They're a very good league. Do not sleep on the Ivy League, especially from a gambling perspective. Be on top of them, because that is going to be a very fun league to watch just throughout the year if you are like us, like a diehard college basketball fan, because you need to be aware. I think we might find ourselves in another position where an Ivy League team is sneakily in a position where they could find themselves in a Sweet 16.
Yeah, like one of those like 5-12, 6
I mean,
11
they've just
matchups. Yeah.
played really well. They've played really well, sound basketball. I'm a big fan of the Ivy League this year.
Yeah,
I really
like
am.
it. Do you have any more takeaways from the weekend, or should we move on to this weekend's bets?
Oh, let me think about this. There was one other thing I think I had. I don't know, Jim. You know, I don't know what it is. Go ahead.
All right, let's go on to the weekend. So for this weekend bets, if you look at the schedule, it's a pretty weak slate. Like, let's just be honest. All the good games start on Monday, but we're just gonna kind of give you rapid fire our bets for the weekend. The lines aren't out, so you're gonna have to like kind of listen to us now, then see Twitter, or just do it on your own for these bets. But I'll go ahead and start off real quick. On Friday night, I'm taking the team total over for Texas A&M. If you can find that team total over, they play against Oral Roberts. A&M plays fast on offense and shoots a lot of threes. And Oral Roberts never plays good defense like for like the last 10 years. They're a top 25 team in pace as well. If you can't find the team total over for Texas A&M, I'll still bet the over, but I will be searching all of my sports books to find the team total over for Texas A&M. Do you want me to keep going?
Do everything, dude. Rapid fire. Let's go.
All right, Ball State to beat Evansville on Saturday. There's a new coach for Ball State, and it's a whole new style and new team. They are very athletic. They're also 90 spots higher on KenPom rankings than Evansville. Right now, the spread looks like it's going to be, by projected on computers, going to be 2 or 3 for Ball State. So I will lay the points and take Ball State to beat Evansville. Next up, I'm going to take Alex Caravan for UConn to have over on his rebounds. It'll probably be around 5.5, seeing what the first 2 games, what his rebound overs were. Against IU on Sunday, UConn and IU both have 7-footers, so I expect them to battle it out. So while their big man UConn is boxing out Ware by IU, I think Caravan will be able to grab enough rebounds. He's already had a 7-rebound game this year. He's had I think it was 7 double-digit rebound games last year. So I like the over 5.5 or even 6 if it gets up to there. And then my last weekend bet that I'm giving you here is Clemson to beat Boise State on Sunday. Clemson has been tested. They're playing decent teams already. They beat Winthrop, UAB, and Davidson. They have a veteran starting 5, and it's a home game. This early in the season, it's really hard for road teams to win on the road. So I will take Clemson to beat Boise State on Sunday.
Okay. Well, I'm a volume guy. You know, yep. I'm a volume guy, but I don't want to hit you with the 97 picks for the weekend.
Yep.
So I'm going to run through just like very quickly a couple of highlights that I think will be interesting for people that are actually watching.
Okay.
All right, cool. Friday. So you should already be watching this. Hope to God you've already watched it. It's 3:30 Friday, CBS Sports Network. Miami, Georgia. I'm taking number 12 Miami -6 against a Georgia team. The over-under is 155.5 right now, depending on what sports book you look at. Georgia does play a little fast pace. I think Miami, though, they did lose a lot of guard play. I think they're going to more try to lock this down. I'm going to avoid the over-under, but if you get that number around that 155, 157, we'll see what happens. I'd probably lean under, but I'm going to say please avoid. We mentioned Weber State. They're playing Gardner-Webb, 4 o'clock on Friday. They're -4 right now over on DraftKings. Please take the -4. That might be the easiest bet of the weekend. And I know we just talked about them having a huge upset, but like that is a very good team. Next one. This is a real like deep down the dirt. Like, why would you watch this game? I got Purdue, Fort Wayne. So I think it's like IPFW is the actual line here. They're the Minotaurs. They're playing Northern Arizona University. Over under 149. Both these teams play fast and loose with everything. Take the over 149. Like that game is going to maybe hit 200 points. I have no doubt. Next we got Butler, Michigan State. We talked about Michigan State not playing super well. It's been a little bit of a weird game. Butler, they're 3-0 to start the year. I'm going to take what is a gross under 140.
Oh, okay.
I think Michigan State's coming off of an emotional game against Duke. They're not going to have their head in the game against a Butler team that's really not been relevant for about 5 years now. They still think they're a top 25 team. I think that game comes out a little slow in the first half. If there is a first half total under 65, which is where I think it should land somewhere, because usually second half's a little bit higher. I'm probably also going to double up and take the under 65 as well.
Okay.
I'm going to see here. What else do I have? This is my favorite bet of the weekend when it comes, or not the weekend, of any game ever. Take Morehead State overs like it's your life. They hit every over ever. They're playing Penn State at Penn State. Penn State's 3-0. Morehead State's already 2-2. They've been crashing the numbers. They're always somewhere between 137 and 144 on the over. Right now, the line's at over 141.5. I'm taking that with no hesitation. It's an auto bet for me at this point.
Okay, I like it.
Here, see, we got James Madison playing Radford. You're taking James Madison minus 8.5 until they prove you wrong. One of the best teams in the country. They get no respect. You don't even need to think about it. Excuse me. We also have Alabama, 8:00 on Friday, playing Mercer. And again, until they prove you wrong, take their overs. They've been scoring over 100 points a game. The over-under is 148.5 on the DraftKings. And then I will finish off my Friday. I don't want to give away Saturday, Sundays yet, because I'd like to see the lines when it comes to these things. Illinois is playing Valparaiso, Kyle, your stomping grounds. They are right now minus 26.5 against Valparaiso.
Yeah.
I don't like it. Sounds
You don't
gross.
like it?
Don't like it. This is where I say go hunting. Go hunting, because though it is minus 26.5, if you went hunting, you could find it for plus 27.5. And I'm taking Valparaiso on the road plus 27.5. And those are my top picks for the weekend. There are a couple of other big games that you can go and check out on the Twitter, but I'm gonna make you go check out the Twitter for them, because we need the content.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm actually going to add one more real quick.
Ooh,
on Friday.
he's gonna add games.
Yes.
He's gonna add games. I can't wait.
On Friday night, I'm going to put my money where my mouth is. I just said I'm not worried about them. St. Mary's is they're playing against San Diego State and Las Vegas. I'm going to go with St. Mary's. They're currently 2-point dogs. I'm going to take them on the money line. So I'm going to put my money where my mouth is from earlier and say St. Mary's bounces back against these are the two teams that fell out of the rankings, two teams that were expected to be good. I think they're the better team, so I'll take St. Mary's.
Who are they playing?
San Diego State.
Ooh, well, I did not see this game. Don't know how the line on it.
9:30 Friday night. San Diego State -2 is what ESPN's giving me currently.
I want to add this to my card, but I want to make sure we have the most. Oh, yep, add it to my card.
All right.
Got them at minus 106.
Okay, I like it.
Yep, add it to my card. I like it. Here we go.
All right, let's do it. Are we gonna go head on into Feast Week now? Are you ready?
Please give me all the feast you have. Do we want to give we just gave some pretty hot takes? Do we want to cover our records really quickly?
Oh yes, definitely.
Buddy, let's go.
All right. Mine, as of recording right now on Thursday night at 9:30 p.m. Eastern, I am 19-16. In a bit of a rough patch the last two nights. I was still hitting at 55%, but 19-16 on the season.
That's just. This is gonna sound so ridiculous when I say my record. You're 19-16. Again, I just want to preface this. This is the road to 1,000 plays, and buddy, we have come out very hot. Your boy is 89-56, 61.4%. Our ROI is 16.5%.
That's pretty awesome.
There has not been a hotter gambler in the first week of college basketball ever. I'm just going to say it now, and it will not continue. It will not continue. The fact that I get to say that out loud just makes me chuckle.
Well, you said that last pod, and you still kept it hot for a week now.
I know. Well, I will say this. I have to apologize to the people. This weekend on Saturday, I did put a lot of plays out. It was actually my first losing day in 7 days.
Okay.
Sometimes you hit massive plays. Also, not to cover your ears, kids. Suck my own dick. I obviously go through Betting Pros. November, we're only halfway through November, right, of 2023, has been my best month betting in 4 years.
Okay, wow.
Sometimes you hit it. I don't know what to say.
Sometimes you hit it. All right, Feast Week time. We got 4 tournaments. We got Maui. We got the Battle for Atlantis. We got the NIT Tip-Off Tournament and the ESPN Events Tournament. I know I sent you this order. We're going to go with the worst to the best. So we're going to start out with the NIT Tip-Off Tournament. It's just a 4-team tournament, which features Baylor versus Oregon State and then Florida versus Pittsburgh. I mean, on paper, looks like a good matchup. We like Florida normally. Pitt usually sneaky team. Baylor always good at defense besides for last year. But I think this one's kind of easy to project. I think Baylor runs away with this tournament. Oregon State will not really compete with them, in my opinion. I think actually Pitt Florida is the fun matchup to watch. I'll actually be intrigued to see that one, to see which probably bubble team is better. So I think Baylor takes on whoever wins that game, and then they easily ride off into the NIT championship here.
Yeah, so I think to dig a little bit deeper, yes, Baylor wins that game. Florida, I like in the second game. And then if we do get a Baylor-Florida matchup, I'm hammering the over and whatever the total is.
Yeah, I like it.
I think it'll probably be somewhere around 144.5. If it does hit 144.5, this will be clipped, and I will be definitely putting it on the internet. Just like I told you, please take everything against Louisville, because they also did not do well this weekend. Just quick callback. So I like Baylor, Florida, and I like the over in the championship game for that. But yes, Baylor is just leaps and bounds ahead. This was definitely a tournament that was scheduled 3 years ago.
Yeah.
Where they thought Florida was going to continue to be good. And Pittsburgh, if you remember at the time, had tremendous guard play. Yep. Oregon State's pretty irrelevant. They just got to be in here, I guess, because they're a Power 5. I don't know.
Yeah,
They've never been good. So yeah, I think we're on the same page there. But yes, I like the matchups we got going on here for just a sleepy tournament if you want to watch it.
Yeah, and I know we referenced KenPom a lot, but just to put some like rankings next to these teams, obviously Baylor's the only team ranked in like the actual rankings, but in KenPom, we got Baylor in the top 10. We got Oregon State at 172, and then Florida and Pittsburgh are within 6 spots of each other, 42 and 48. So that matchup will be really, really nice to see.
Yeah.
All right, let's move next to the ESPN events tournament. So I got a real quick question. Why did the Phil Knight Invitational and Legacy tournaments go away? The one that Purdue and UConn won last year, and now we get this ESPN events. It's a much worse tournament, and yet those last year, those 2 tournaments were the best ones that we had all year.
I can only imagine because of money.
Yeah, it has to be.
Because if you remember, we complained about this last year. They chose the worst days and the worst times to have them. Like, I remember us being like, if this was literally anywhere else, we would have been there for the entire weekend. But like, hotel was expensive as shit. There was no one in the stands. I remember us literally talking on the phone. We're like, dude, do you see this right now? Like, the first 7 rows are empty. They couldn't have made a dime on that tournament. That's the only reason I can imagine they don't have it again.
Yeah, I remember that there was a night where Purdue played Gonzaga, and the game didn't start till like 1 a.m. Eastern. It was just ridiculous.
Yeah, I remember. I think that may have been the game we were texting each other. There were like 7 people in the stands.
All right, we'll go to this ESPN events tournament where these are the 8 teams, and I'll give you the matchups. Penn State plays Texas A&M. Florida Atlantic plays Butler. Iowa State plays VCU, and then Boise State plays Virginia Tech. Just right off the bat, the draw is terrible because honestly, the championship is probably Florida Atlantic versus Texas A&M, which will be the semifinal, which 2 great teams in this year. Dark horse here, I could kind of see Virginia Tech maybe being able to get to the championship just because I think Iowa State's down, Boise State's just okay. But I'm going to stick with my boys here. I'm going to say Texas A&M actually gets past Penn State and then pulls the is it an upset? It'll be an upset in the rankings, but I'm not sure what the spread will be. But I'll take Texas A&M to win this one.
Yeah, Virginia Tech has been impressive, actually. You know, they're also averaging over 100 points a game. And you're right on the same vein I was at. I think FAU can convince the country they are a top 5 team if they beat Texas A&M. I think that's a legitimate team with a legitimate star, probably a top 5 player, honestly. But just to be the opposite of you, I'm going to take Florida Atlantic. Okay. Let's just hop on that bandwagon right now. I like that they're a little bit of an underdog. This is definitely we'll ride them this year, but if they were good next year, we can't be fans of them. But I'll take Florida Atlantic. I take it back. I'm going to take Boise because they're my Mountain West team.
Okay, I like
Boise State to the championship because I have to.
Okay. And just to let you guys know, if Florida Atlantic and Texas A&M win that first game, that'll happen on Thanksgiving. If they win, it'll be on Black Friday at 11 a.m. So just wake up, get yourself some breakfast, and get ready to watch that before the NFL game later in the day. So that'll be fun. All right, let's move on to the next one, Battle for Atlantis. I always love this one. The court always looks really cool during this tournament, and that's my takeaway every year. Is like, man, I really like how this tournament looks. But the matchups are: we got North Carolina versus Northern Iowa, we have Villanova versus Texas Tech, Michigan versus Memphis, and Arkansas versus Stanford. Right off the bat, it seems like the first matchups are pretty easy to tell who's going to win outside of Memphis, Michigan. I think that one will be the closest of the four matchups. I like Arkansas in the bottom half, definitely, to beat Stanford. I don't ever trust Stanford. And then whoever wins the Michigan Memphis game. Who do you like to win this, though? I'm having a hard time picking out who I could get from the top, and then if Arkansas beats that team or not. So who do you like?
So if we go off of everything I said, episode 1, I have to take Villanova because I said North Carolina would not be good. Though I am a guns up guy, I just don't trust Texas Tech this year. I had Memphis as my Final Four. I said I need to repent that after what we found out with the eligibility piece, and I am a must bust guy. I'm going to take Villanova, Arkansas in the final game, and I will take the must bust because I just think he's the better coach, and they're the more prepared team because Villanova has more, but I just after that Penn game, it's just like it might be because I'm a fan of them. Like, just show me something. Show me something. So I'm going to take the must bust on Arkansas to win this tournament, but I like Villanova, Arkansas in the title game.
Yeah, I think that's exactly what the title game would be too. Villanova versus Arkansas. And if that is the matchup, I will take Arkansas as well. But I'm going to call the upset here because Memphis actually shocked me with how their second half comeback was against Missouri. So it gives me a little bit of pause that maybe they can knock off Arkansas. I don't think North Carolina will beat Villanova. So I'm going to take Villanova here to win the championship.
Okay, I can live with that. I can live with that. I love that. Can we pause for 1 second though? Michigan has actually been a little bit of a surprise team.
Yeah.
I thought they were terrible. They've actually performed really well after losing like 70% of their scoring production.
Yeah.
I like Michigan. They're a little bit of a sneaky team in the Big Ten. So if someone watches them and they're like, wow, this is a good team, I wouldn't hate a little sneaky, like maybe dark horse Big Ten, though Purdue is far and away the best team. But the right unit at the right price, I think I wouldn't hate that.
Yeah, for sure. And yeah, Michigan blew out St. John's, and we both thought they were going to win at Madison Square Garden.
We did. Yeah. Exactly. You nailed that.
Yeah. All right, last tournament, and by far the best one. This is just a loaded invitational. The Maui Classic, of course. This will not be played, and it's in Maui like it normally is. It's in Honolulu this year because of the wildfires. But we got Tennessee versus Syracuse, Purdue versus Gonzaga, Kansas versus Chaminade, and UCLA versus Marquette. Just an absolutely loaded field. Kansas obviously gets the free bye, basically, and moves on to the second round. But, I mean, Purdue really got no luck here from being the number 2 team in the nation. They have to play Gonzaga, probably Tennessee, and then probably Kansas. So they'll have to get 3 top 11 wins to probably win this tournament. I like them a lot against Gonzaga. I really think Gonzaga matches up terribly with Purdue. So I like them to move on there. Obviously, I'm going to take Tennessee to beat Syracuse because Syracuse has no idea what they're in for from defense. So then we got an awesome matchup, Purdue versus Tennessee, which I think is a toss-up there. But I'll let you go first. Who do you think wins this one?
So if Purdue pulls that off, they're the clear number 1.
Yeah.
No doubt, which is what they did last year, if you recall. They started like 3-4, had tons of big wins, instantly moved to number 1, started to falter in the conference, which fair. For the sake of argument and for the sake of content, I'm going to take Tennessee to win this tournament.
Okay, I like it.
I think this is the first year that Rick Barnes has figured it out. They still play extremely good defense, but they still have found a way to score. They did lose a couple transfers, as we've referenced before, but I think this is the year for Tennessee. Okay. We've kind of flirted with hating and loving them for a couple years now. I think this is their coming out party. If Tennessee can show me what I think they can do, they win this tournament. Anything less, and by less, I should say, if they lose by more than 10 to Purdue, I'll be back on the they're not good train, and I'm just going to be honest with you. But Tennessee's my pick. And then my other hot take of the weekend, Marquette will beat Kansas by double digits.
Oh, I like it. I like it. That Marquette team is a very impressive team. They are very impressive. I will say, you're talking about Tennessee being great. Since we think Kentucky's good, obviously I love A&M. You like Arkansas. The SEC is going to be so fun to watch this season. Yes. But that's a side note. Yes. So I'm going to take Purdue to get past Tennessee. I don't know. It's a toss-up. I'm just going to go with Purdue in that one. And I want it to be a battle, 1 versus 2, because that reminds me of Gonzaga versus Duke when they had Zion, and it was an epic Maui championship, and they lost to Gonzaga that year. But I'm ready for a 1 versus 2 in this, to just the early season kind of like who's the king right
Yeah.
now. So
Yeah.
I'll go with Kansas versus Purdue, and unfortunately for my wife, I will take Kansas to win that one because I just think they're too stacked on the guard play for Purdue to handle.
Yeah, you say that. That also reminds me of another 1-2 matchup similar to this that we were robbed of.
Mm-hmm.
COVID year.
Oh no.
Remember that one?
Mm-hmm.
Baylor Gonzaga. We got
Yep.
robbed late December. Didn't happen. Championship game ended up happening. I still think you play that game 100 times. Baylor does not do that, what they did to Gonzaga. But I'd like the call out here. Purdue, Kansas. I think that's a great matchup, great size. And I do actually think if that is the matchup, I'm going to go opposite of you. I think
Okay.
Purdue has the size and the depth to take out Kansas, because I think Kansas without Dickinson cannot play with Edey. But I also think that's vice versa.
Yeah.
Whoever stays out of foul trouble will win the game.
Yeah. And I mean, Purdue knows Dickinson. Like they've had plenty of times to play him and scout him. So it's not like this will be new for them. So
Correct.
All right. Well, there's the Feast Week. And again, follow us on Twitter. We'll put out all of our picks. Best of luck in all your bets. And I mean, it's been a great start to the season. I can't wait to see how Feast Week goes.
Yep. Love you guys.